Those lines, keeping busy. God is doing what she wishes. You're my new religion, and I'm not saving you for Sunday. I took a double dose until I was comatose in heaven with some heathens. Flipped you on your side and looked you in your eyes when you said that you can't believe it. You ripped my t-shirt, took off your green skirt, said I want you to make me hurt. Really didn't know I had it in me. Now it's on your back and we're back at the beginning singing. Close lines, keeping busy. God is doing what she wishes. You're my new religion, and I'm not saving you for Sunday. Lit up a couple matches with a couple queens on the king mattress. Bending over like a good Catholic. Let's get you wet, I'll be the Baptist. And you don't look too bad from this angle. Camera captured two angels, got you strapped at the ankle.
Alright, hello guys, and welcome to my melee Magicka sorcerer build. Let's jump right into it. So, to start off, I just want to say that there are some big changes coming to damage shields. So I'm actually releasing this build a little bit earlier than I wanted to, simply because there's big changes coming in the new patch, and I don't want to wait for the new patch to rework this build, so I'm just going to show you guys what I have. Now, the changes to damage shields, I'm not sure if they're going to stick or not. However, this build is built with that in mind, that damage shields are you're not kind of your primary defense, I guess. So we have a lot of defense outside of damage shields, so we keep that in mind on this build. So I just want to let you guys know that that's the reason why this build video isn't going to have a ton of PvP footage and stuff. I just put it out early because we don't know what's going to happen in this new patch, and I don't want to wait. So I'm just going to share the build with you guys. Anyhow, let's jump right into it. Taking a look at the build, you can see we are a Dark Elf Sorcerer. I would recommend going Dark Elf or High Elf for this build. They're BIS. Up to you which one you want to do, doesn't really matter. If we take a look at our max stat, we've got just about 40k Magicka, 15k Stamina, and almost 24k HP. This is awesome. Like I said, in the upcoming Wolf Hunter patch, ZeniMax is kind of butchering shields a bit, giving them a cast time, so having good defenses outside of your shield is going to be very helpful, such as having a higher max health value like 2,400 health, instead of 18k and hiding behind the damage shield the whole time. So this is going to help out a lot, I think, for your survivability, just having the bigger health pools here. And of course, we have a pretty big stam pool, which is awesome, and that 40k Magicka pool for that base value on the shield. Taking a look at our regens, we've got 1,800 Magicka recovery, 900 health recovery, and 1,060 stamina recovery. Now, when we buff up with our potion, we go up to almost 2.1k health or Magicka recovery, and we go over 1k health recovery. If we have Troll King procced, which we are running on the Mag Sorc, we get to 3.3k health recovery on this build. So we have a lot of sustain on the Magicka Sorc here, and a lot of health recovery, which is kind of strange, but like I said, we're playing a melee Magicka Sorc. We need to be able to have some brawler-esque capabilities, and we need to be able to take some damage with our shields down, so having that health recovery is going to be really huge for the survival on this build, pairing really well with things like Surge, etc. But anyway, let's move on to the rest of the build. Our spell damage coming in, we're going to buff up real fast right here for the spell damage. Coming in at 2,588. We are running an infused enchant on our back bar, so we buff up fully to around 3,300 spell damage on this build. So that's pretty sweet. Our spell crit buffed with the potion is going to be 42%. So we don't have a massive amount of spell crit, but it's not a super huge deal as we do have the big fat base stats in the back to kind of make up for it. Now, this is something that we're going to talk about for this build and the upcoming Wolf Hunter patch yet again. We have our physical and spell resist on the Magicka Sorc coming in at 23k spell and 19k physical resist at 1,800 critical resistance. So this is much higher bulky resists than you would see normally from a Magicka Sorc, and this reflects the fact that in this coming patch, shields are going to be critable, they're going to take damage according to your physical and spell resist. So essentially the way damage shields are kind of changing is it's no longer beneficial, I think, to stack huge amounts of max Magicka for a bigger shield. Instead, it's better off to have some bulky stats here and then maybe give up a bit of shield size, but have it be a little bit more tankier by having the bulky defense stats. So that's exactly what we did here. We made made sure that we kept high physical resist and high spell resist, as well as good crit resist on our Magicka Sorc, so we have some defense outside of shields, and in the coming patch, our shields will be better as well. Taking a look at the abilities that at the Mundus that we have, we are running the Mage Mundus. Very important that you run this Mundus for the increased damage shield size, I think, because it does scale off your max Magicka. And then for the food, we are using the Clockwork Citrus Fillet. This is a very, very good food, especially for this build. We need the max health, we need the max Magicka, we need the health recovery, and we need the Magicka recovery. Every single stat that this food gives is very, very beneficial to this build, especially that health recovery, because we are running the Troll King, so that plays into it really, really well. So yeah, if you don't have the money for the Clockwork Citrus Fillet, you can always do the Witch Mother's Potent Brew, but you'll be giving up a bit of health recovery for it. So it's kind of up to you if you want to go that route. I'd highly recommend going for the gold food if you can. The health recovery is super important to your survivability in PvP. So let's take a look at the gear that we're running to kind of put this build together. So the first piece that we have here is the 2-piece Troll King. And this is here for good reason, guys. That massive amount of health recovery that it gives, very, very important for this build. It gives us a huge amount of sustain when mixed with Surge, a huge amount of healing power that people will have trouble beating through in a one-on-one. Honestly, this build is very, very tanky, even with its shields down, because of that healing power that we have and the good sustain that we have. So we can actively fight really hard and get a lot of healing power out of this Troll King set. And then the one piece gives us some healing done. Not super great, but not bad either. But yeah, really, really, really good set for this build. Troll King is pretty much BIS to pair with Surge, I think. It's such a good combo, and been really enjoying it on the Mag Sorc, especially because we go the melee route, so we're going to be in melee distance a lot. We're going to be taking a lot of damage, so we get a lot of procs off this set as well. The next set that we're running is Shackle Breaker, and this is here for kind of a double whammy. So we have it here for that spell damage, both the sustains, and then both the max stats. So we're looking at, of course, that magical damage aspect of it, as well as the sustain on both sides with the max stat and the recoveries. So very, very nice in that aspect for this build, because we need both recoveries and we need the sustain as well. Now, we do get weapon damage and the spell damage from it, and because we're playing a dual-wield melee Magicka Sorc, and we actually are using Surge, Power Surge as a buff, we do get Major Brutality and Major Sorcery. So on this build, we actually have a decent amount of weapon damage when we buff up, 2,531, and this is actually a little stinted because my dual wield is not fully leveled up. So if my dual wield was fully leveled up, this would be even higher than our spell damage value. So it doesn't mean that we're going to hit super hard with our light attacks on dual wield, but it does add a little bit of pepper to it, which is really nice, and it just helps synergize the melee Mag Sorc kind of setup in general. So that's why we've gone with the Shackle Breaker here. And then the final set that we have on this build, of course, is the dual wield melee Magicka build, probably BIS set you can run. 5 pieces of Torx Pact on our front bar here. And on the back bar as well. We're running the 5 Torx Pact in the jewelry, front bar, back bar. Now, the Torx Pact on our front bar is something that will be changing next patch. Next patch, you have the Nirnhoned main weapon, and you're going to have the infused off weapon with a shock enchant, and you will have no enchant on the main weapon. This patch, you can have an enchant on your main weapon, but next patch, they're kind of changing how enchants work, so you just don't enchant your main weapon, make it Nirnhoned, make your offhand infused, and enchant that bad boy, and you are good to go on the dual wield kind of melee Magicka spec. For the Resto Staff, we have gone with Infused again, and the weapon and spell damage enchant. This is going to give us a big buff to the weapon spell damage, just pushing our damage further and further. And then for the jewelry, it is full arcane. Full arcane for Torx Pact, and it's important that we do this because this build does not, as you can see, offer a lot of max Magicka outside of the Shackle Breaker set. So we want to make sure that we push that 40k value by running full arcane in the jewelry here. You could run Swift if you want. It is an option. That being said, Sorc is already really fast with Streak. They don't really need Swift, but I have had Sorcs tell me that they love running Swift, so you could run Swift if you want here too, but I think the arcane shield value is a little bit more worthwhile because we don't have a massive Magicka pool to begin with. Now, for the enchants on the jewelry, I have gone with 1 Magicka recovery, 2 Magicka recovery, and 1 stamina recovery. And the reason we put so much sustain here is because we are doing a shield-based build, trying to get that max magicka as high as possible. So we omit the spell damage here for the max stat. We omit the spell damage in our kind of Mundus for the max magicka, and then we do kind of the sustain aspect of the build on the enchants here instead of going spell damage. So that's kind of how we go for the max mag stack while still putting some sustain on our jewelry as well, which is really nice. For the traits on our gear, we have got a mix of well-fitted and a mix of impenetrable. I would recommend 3 or 4 well-fitted and 3 or 4 impenetrable, whatever combo of the two that you want. I have 1 infused piece on here. Not really a huge deal. It's up to you. But I would recommend well-fitted impen because it's going to help you out a lot. Impen's going to help your damage shield builds now, so that's very important. And well-fitted is super important for PvP. Reduce sprint cost, reduce cost of rule dodge. Really, really useful. With the changes to light armor passives, well-fitted on a light armor build is going to be particularly good. So I would highly recommend light armor starts to run things like well-fitted and impen in the future as well for PvP. So the enchants on this guy, I have a mix of max magicka enchants and tri-stat hacky joes, and I have a random stamina enchant on the shoulder because this is not the first build and not the last build that I will do a build video on where I did the whole build without even... Oh, just totally missed it. I don't know what to say, guys. I do it all the time. Just 1 enchant, not a big deal. But we got the mix of the max magicka and the mix of the tri-stat hacky joes. Really up to you what you want to do for enchants here. Just wherever you feel like you want your stats to sit. The hacky joes are not a necessity because we run shackle breaker. So you could ideally just go all for max magicka if you want. Hacky joes are nice because they bulk your HP. So that's the big thing that you get from them that I think this build really benefits from. So, taking a look at the skills that we're running, we are the Melee Mag Sorc, so we're going to take a look at our front dual-wield bar, our Melee Mag Sorc bar. So the first skill we have here is Mage's Wrath, and this is going to simply be our execute. The reason I like this so much for the Melee Mag Sorc is because it's a bit of a delayed execute, so you can stack massive damage with it on top of a big combo, so I really like that aspect of it. So that's why we've got Mage's Wrath here, putting that huge execute potential if their health drops below 20%. The next skill that we have is Elemental Weapon, and this is your primary spammable for the Melee Mag Sorc. It is literally the only melee distance magicka-based skill that Sorc has access to that is any good as a spammable. So that is why we chose it. We wanted the dual wield to work. We wanted to have a good spammable. We go for the Elemental Weapon. This bad boy has a nice beefy tooltip. As you can see here, we're going to buff up with our Berserk and everything. 9.3k tooltip on Elemental Weapon, so a nice big tooltip on it. And it's just going to stack on top of your next light attack into whatever other attack you're going to use. The Elemental Weapon is a really good stacking attack. It pairs really well with Curse. So you do Curse, Elemental Weapon, light attack, Mage's Wrath, and it just slams down on the target. So much damage. So there you go. And then, of course, the plus side of this thing is that you can apply the Burning Concussion or Chilled Status effect to the opponent. And that's really nice because we aren't running a Destro Staff to apply those effects. So we get it through the Elemental Weapon here, which is super dope. The next skill that we have is, of course, Hardened Ward. And yeah, we talked a little bit about this at the beginning of the video. ZeniMax is making some big changes to how shields function next patch. And next patch, this is going to have a cast time. It's a big reason why I'm releasing the build early, because I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this next patch, because I'm not sure if these changes will stick or not, or how they will get changed, because this was just announced yesterday. So as it sits right now, this is what you're going to want to run here. It's a really good skill, very strong defensively, but we'll see next patch if that changes. I don't know. I can't really speculate. Otherwise, right now, it's a very good damage shield. It can absorb a lot of damage, and due to the chunky nature of this build, having our tankiness with the damage shield on top means that we're going to have a very easy time surviving a lot of incoming damage from players, so that's really awesome. And Hardened Ward is also really cheap for the size of shield it gives you, which is really notable about this skill as well. And then the next skill that we have is our final kind of like melee offensive skill, and it is Streak. And I slotted Streak here because it's our gap closer question mark. I guess it is. It's our stun slash gap closer. Now, Streak is actually quite a strong skill. It has a really nice tooltip, 6,300 damage on this Streak for an AoE. Not bad. On top of it, it's a massive AoE stun. It's fairly cheap, and it teleports you away. So we use it kind of as our gap closer on this build, slash the stun maker, and it's how we stay mobile on the Melee Mag Sorc, as well as having a lot of that AoE damage too, and that AoE control that Streak gives you. So I really like this skill a lot for Sorc. It's one of my favorite Sorc skills, and I love playing Mag Sorc simply because you get to have a powerful streak, and I love streaks. So there you go. Really great for the melee Mag Sorc, I think. It's our gap closer. Let's move on. Bound Aegis is our next skill. Now, Bound Aegis is actually here over Inner Light because we do get the Inner Light buff from our potion, which I had actually kind of forgot to mention earlier. The potions that we run will give us max health, max Magicka, the recoveries for both health and Magicka, which is important because we run the Troll King, and then the Major Prophecy for that spell crit. So, yeah, we don't run Inner Light because this one's going to give us a little bit more max Magicka, giving us 8% versus the 7 that Inner Light would give us. And then on top of it, it's going to give us Minor Ward and Minor Resolve, giving us an increase to our physical and spell resist while we're on our offensive bar, which isn't why it's there. It's more there for the max Magicka, but it is a nice passive buff skill just to have there. Very, very good skill. Now, if we activate it, we can increase our block mitigation, but we don't have anything really into blocks, so this is purely here for the buff purposes that it provides. So there you go. Very, very good skill, I think, and it buffs our max Magicka value, giving us a better damage shield, and of course giving us more damage to our offensive skills on this bar. Now, the next ability that we have, and going for the ultimate on this build, I actually have Suppression Field here because I love Negate, and I tried a few different ultimates, mostly Suppression Field and mostly the Dawnbreaker of Smiting, which seems like the obvious choice, I think, for a melee Mag Sorc because it is a melee-based ultimate, and the Mag Sorc can use it. But it does deal physical damage, so you would have to invest your champion points a little bit differently to make it as effective. However, it is a good option. It has a good stun, and it hits fairly hard and has a strong dot, so you can use it if you want. But I actually opted out of Dawnbreaker of Smiting for the Negate myself. I tried Smiting a little bit, but I found the Negate was just better overall, and the Negate really allowed you to turn some fights where a Dawnbreaker of Smiting I don't think would have turned the fight as easily. So this is why I've gone for the Negate here. It's kind of up to you on which ult you want to use. I think for PvP, the ability to negate your opponent from casting magical abilities, yeah, almost too strong. So that's why I went with the Negate there. Anyhow, with the changes coming to the next patch, though, guys, we won't be running Overload on this build because Overload gives us the extra bar right now. So you could run Dawnbreaker on the front bar and Negate on the back bar for the melee Mag Sorc if you want. Always a good way to go. So let's take a look at our back bar here, and this is our Resto Staff bar. The first ability that we have is the Haunting Curse, and this is going to be our set offensive ability. We do a light attack, Haunting Curse to kind of mark them up, and then we do our elemental weapon, and then light attack, Mage's Wrath, and we skip the light attack in between our elemental weapon and Haunting Curse. Well, you could do it, but it's not important because your dual wield doesn't hit super hard, and you do want your Torx Pact enchant to land with the rest of your combo. But there you go. Massive amounts of damage with this combo, huge amounts of burst, and it's all melee minus maybe the curse, but it is locked to the target. It is a distance move. I guess that breaks the style a little bit. However, we needed the curse. The curse is going to give us that combination damage that allows us to blow up harder to kill targets with a good combo. So it comes in real handy for that. And curse, of course, is unblockable, which makes it deal a nice amount of damage as well. The next skill that we have is Race Against Time. This is a buff skill. We have that here for the Minor Force for the crit damage bonus, as well as the movement speed and the sprint cost reduction. The sprint cost reduction, very important for a mag build, allows you to sprint around very cheaply and conserve a lot of stamina while moving quickly, and then you can go back to streaking or whatever. The next ability that we have is Combat Prayer, and this is actually the only Resto Staff skill that we run on this build, and it's good. Honestly, Combat Prayer is really good. It's going to give us both the minor armor buffs. So we do have the minor buffs on our front bar, but now we're going to get them on the back bar as well from Combat Prayer. And then on top of it, when we use it, it'll give us the minor Berserk, which is an 8% damage increase. So it's essentially an offensive buff that you're going to use prior to doing your combo. Combat Prayer into the Race Against Time to make sure you buff up all your offenses. And then Power Surge, but that's got a long duration, so you don't need to be as keen with that one. Combat Prayer, of course, is going to be a good heal for you too. It's not a massive heal, but we have so much health recovery, you're essentially just going to use it to proc your Troll King, and that's about it. You're not going to rely on it big time for the amount of healing it does itself. If it looks like it healed a lot, honestly, it healed you for a bit, and then you got a 3k Troll King proc, and that's why it looked like it healed you so much. Combat Prayer is not a super great heal, but if you have a lot of healing power already, it synergizes really well with your build by giving you kind of access to buffs that you were missing. So there you go. That is why we're running the Combat Prayer. Really nice Resto Staff skill. And then the next ability we have is Power Surge. We talked about this a little bit earlier. It'll give us Major Brutality and Major Sorcery, which is important for our dual wield bar because we need both in order to increase our damage to the highest potential. And then finally, while this is active, dealing damage with a critical strike will heal you for 3k health, and this can occur every 1 second. Yep, I've said it before, when you pair this with Troll King, very, very strong amounts of healing, especially from a melee build. When you got a lot of guys on top of you, you'll get a lot of critical strikes from your Boundless Storm, which will proc your Troll King. So let's take a look at Boundless Storm now. Boundless Storm is going to give you both the major armor buffs, which is really nice, and it gives you Major Expedition. So a nice, long, lengthy Major Expedition here, which is great. And then on top of it, it's going to deal almost 1k shock damage every 1 second for 23 seconds to anyone within a 5-meter radius. We are a melee-based Mag Sorc, so this means we'll get more Troll King healing, more Surge healing, because we're fighting in melee distance by running Boundless Storm, which is really, really nice. And then, of course, the armor it gives you is very important too, I think. So for the ultimate on this, guys, I've slotted Overload, and on the back, or on the Overload bar, I've just put a variety of skills that I liked, including Dark Deal, but I hardly used them in the course of normal combat. So yeah. Next patch, they're removing the Overload extra bar, so we won't talk about that in this build. Like I said, ideally what you're going to do now is probably slot Dawnbreaker Smiting front bar, and then go Suppression Field on your back bar. So let's take a look at those champion points, guys. We're going to start in the green tree here. 24 Warlord, 11 in Sprinting. Nothing in Bash, because melee Magicka build, you don't want to bash too much if you can help it. But we got to break free and we got to sprint, so it's very important we put a few points in here with what we had left over. In the Lover tree, we have got a very heavy stacked tree, 37 Mooncalf, 64 Arcanist, and 49 Health Recovery. You can always dump more in Health Recovery and less in Arcanist if you went for something like a High Elf. However, it doesn't really matter. It's more up to preference, but you want to make sure you put a lot of points into both these two, and then of course quite a few into your Stam Recovery as well. But these two are your most important, the health and the Magicka Recovery. So yeah, stacked a lot of points in there. We get the Wind Running passive, so we get more health and mag recovery while sprinting, which is nice. And then of course we get the increased movement speed, which is also nice. In the Shadow tree, we've got 23 Shadow Ward, 51 in Tumbling, and then just 1 Befoul because we had the extra point. We got to roll a lot, and we got to block attacks in PvP, even though we're playing a light armor build. Primarily, we're going to be rolling more, though, so we put more in Tumbling. In the Apprentice tree, we have a very stacked tree yet again. Spell Erosion, Elemental Expert, and Elfborn. Huge stacking here. 59, 64, and 56. Kind of an equal spread between these two, with a focus on just the raw damage increase, followed by the penetration, and then lastly the crit. But yeah, we stack this tree so hard simply because we don't benefit a lot from the Tactician passive, and we don't get the Exploiter passive, so we decided to just stack our mag tree super heavy for that big damage. We get the Arcane Well passive, which can be nice for some sustain, but it's not super reliable. And then finally in the Atronach tree, we've got the 81 Master at Arm, and this is going to be important, of course, just to bulk all our outgoing damage by 24%. So that's really nice, and it'll bulk our light attack damage. We didn't put anything into Physical Weapon Expert or Staff Expert because the light attacks don't deal a ton of damage with either of those. And the Imbue Weapon doesn't increase our base light attack damage. It's separate from it. So yeah, not really any benefit of putting it here. So just Master at Arms and our offensive magic abilities, and that's pretty much it. We could have put a little bit in Blessed, but because we're so heal-based off the healing recovery or the health recovery, we don't need to worry too much about the healing done. So taking a look at the red tree, we've got 56 in Ironclad, 26 in Spell Shield, and 52 Resistant. Lots of crit resist, lots of incoming direct damage resistance. Very important because a lot of burst comes from that. And then finally, a lot of spell resist as well, because we want to bulk up those resists all around. In the Lady tree, we've got a similar 29 light armor focus, 27 hardy, 27 elemental, and 20 in thick skin. Big focus again on light armor focus to bulk up that physical resist. Ideally, we could take 10 points out of here and put it in here just to kind of equal out our armors a bit, but it's really up to you guys. I just left them fairly equal because the points are front heavy. But yeah, We could equal out our armor values, bring our spell resist down a bit, and bring our physical resist up. Totally up to the user. Should be able to sit around, I think, 21k for each on this build, which is not so bad for light armor, I think. And then reduce our incoming magical and physical damage we take, as well as reduce the incoming damage we take from dots. Very important. And then just 23 points in quick recovery for a little bit of healing power. Alright guys, so let's start some PvP commentary. So just to start off, I did do this build during the sewers event. So just giving you guys a heads up that this is all going to be sewer footage because that's where I played the build. But anyway, as you can see here, this guy wants to run some stones home. And at first he starts casting friendship, but we are out here to collect taxes. Poor guy, so we're going to engage with him and hopefully get his stones. But there we see we've got 2 more AD that's going to jump on top of us there. So we respond right away by going for the negate and dropping, absolutely destroying one of the players there in the negate, unable to cast and heal herself. So we just bring her down. And then we just kite right back behind these rocks, making sure to use a lot of the streak for the stun. And there you see we do the streak, imbued weapon, light attack, and then our execute. And it does a huge amount of damage there. Now, we don't always go for the curse combo with everything on top, only when we need to do some big boy burst damage to someone. Here you see this guy's low HP. We just do the light attack, the streak, and the... Sorry, we just do the imbue weapon, the light attack, and the streak, and you just see how much damage we do between the Torx Pact, the imbue weapon, and the streak. Just so much damage off that light attack. And there we go. So these guys are going to come back out and re-engage with me here. And they open up with their bows. I go for another negate here, hoping to catch them inside of it. This guy gets caught in the negate. The Magicka player here, the other player here, sorry, is just swinging light attacks inside the negate. So we kill the one player in the negate, and then the other guy here, we just continue to streak around and kite around, and we're just going to make sure we set our full combo on there. There's the curse, there's the streak and the light attack. Big damage and huge finish with the explosion there. Lots of burst off this build. Hey, it's pretty cool to see such a bursty melee mag Sorc. Here you see we take a super nasty gank from a gank blade here. We put some a decent stun on him there, and we try to damage him, but he just quickly stealths up. And it's going to be pretty futile to try to chase this guy. So we're just going to keep on fighting here. We find a yellow Nightblade yet again, and he is just standing around, swinging light attacks. Not a lot of damage, so we're just going to take him down nice and easy there with a few combos. And there you see we just easily chunk through his health. And we're going to have to keep our eyes out for this blue Nightblade because he hits super hard. And there you see when he ganked us the first time, we actually had our shields down. So it's just a testament to how actually bulky this build is. We survived the shields down gank. Here we find this guy killing some mobs, and we just attack him from behind. He doesn't even respond, just goes down right away to the combo and the stun off the streak. There you see it again. I really like the melee mag Sorc for that imbue weapon into light attack streak as well, because then you can have a really high damage stun coming out of this build, which is pretty sweet. This guy here is about to open with his bow. We streak through him with the resto light attack to the streak right away. Make sure we get a curse on him too so he doesn't stealth or anything. He runs away and goes into werewolf mode. We're just going to peel back just a little bit because I don't want to be out in that open kind of space there with the blue Nightblade running around ganking. I know he's got his eyes out for me while I fight these yellow. So I throw down the negate here. Great negate again. And we put some good damage into this guy here. Finish him with the execute there. And the werewolf honestly just takes a lot of ambient damage from our negate and the curse explosion on the other player and ends up going down. And then we find a poor level 18. He's just stepping out into the sewers for the first time. Oh my lord. Poor guy. Anyway, we're going to keep on keeping here, and I believe there is another engagement by the Nightblade, and we do really good there with our deflect. We quickly break the CC and stun break. The Nightblade is smart, seeing he didn't hit us very hard, disengages right away. He is playing a gank spec, so it means he won't be able to deliver massive damage all the time. If he fails a gank, I do have a bit of a window before he can successfully reopen. And now we see a couple players, I believe, on their way back to bank some stones, and we're going to try to stop this and take their stones. We get huge damage with the curse and the light attack imbue weapon. Get the execute on him as well, and he explodes as he tries to roll away there. And then this guy here, we get a good stun on him and just put the damage in, and he just pops right away. And the Nightblade re-engages. Look at how low our health gets. But the Troll King doing absolute work off the surge there, just giving us huge health return while our damage shield soaks up additional burst. Very, very nice. So this is a scenario where in the coming patch, you won't be able to defend as well because you don't have the Hardened Ward. So maybe swap out Healing Ward for Hardened Ward would maybe be a good option. possibly would be a way to kind of circumvent the issues that this build may have next patch. I think that's actually a good option. Anyway, here is another fight here where we are just fighting some blue and they're going to engage on us. Here you see we pop one Nightblade and the whole party jumps on us. We get good damage into the Nightblade there with the Curse Explosion, actually dealing good AoE, a lot of damage from our negate as well. However, it's not enough to bring him down, and they do have a dedicated heal, so we're just going to need to pull out of here. I quickly peel around the side here just to kind of buy myself a bit of space, and then once these guys start to re-engage, I'm just going to go through the center here, and the whole point here is to just try to split the group as much as possible so I can engage with them in more favorable numbers than totally outnumbered. And here we see we managed to get a one-on-one with this Templar, and he fights very, very well. And we're going to have a tough time. Look at how much damage he does with his jabs. Oh my gosh. So we just get a stun on him with this streak there. And then what we're going to do is just put our shield up and just channel that resto heavy on him. Try to get some resource back there. He denies us with the stun. Great call on his part. But we're just going to make sure to keep our buffs up. And we're pretty tanky. Like, he's got to catch us with a big combo and a Dawnbreaker if he wants to bring us down, even if our shields are down. Here you see we just start beating on him with our imbue weapon, shields down and everything. Great thing about the melee Mag Sorc, you can actually fight shields down on it. It's so important, I think, that you have the capability to do that. There you see we just take massive massive healing ticks from our health recovery while he's jabbing us. He has trouble just beating through our health here. And yeah, really doing work, I think, with the tanky build, because this guy hits super hard. He's running a very strong Templar build, got a lot of damage, a lot of healing, and we're able to just face tank his jabs, which I think is pretty sweet. And we don't have to rely on shield stacking to do it, which is also pretty sweet, I think. So we're just going to keep on keeping against this guy here. If we can maybe take this fight, I don't know. It's a good fight so far. We're going to keep on trying. But he's good at countering our combos. He is a stamina Templar, so he's going to purge our curses, which makes it harder to deal with. We take a nasty stun there. Another player jumps on top. I was hoping the other player would stun the Templar, but he doesn't. The Templar goes for an absolute jabs barrage on me and then follows it with a javelin. This is not actually a really bad thing because it cost him a lot of resource to do that, and now he's in a 2-on-1 on low resource pool, and that's never a good thing. And here you see his health begins to drop, and we almost get him there. And here we go. Here come the blues. Okay, so he's safe now. We're going to keep fighting these guys. I'm kind of keeping my eye on the Magicka Templar here, just because I know it's going to be tough to burst people with her sitting around. But I'm going to keep kiting around here and hopefully try to split these guys and get a good kill. We get an opportunity to actually turn on that Nightblade, but I use the moment to go for the resto heavy attack, knowing we're going to need that resource. Maybe we could have gone for the kill there, but it's okay. The resto heavy still helped out a lot. We get another gank from the Nightblade there. We easily brush it off. Some Troll King regen really helping us out there. And we're just going to rebuff, keep our shield up, and then re-engage with these guys. But they're going to put some pressure on us, snare us really good. I'm just going to try to pop around them here, get another resto heavy attack off. Just being conscientious of my resource because, as you see here, there are more blue coming. But a yellow's on their tail. Oh my god, bananas to the rescue. And hopefully, me and this yellow guy can work together and maybe bring this fight home. This guy goes for the res. I don't bash him. I go for the negate instead. The negate is also going to stop the res. He responds by rolling out of it twice and then going into his healing ult. Excellent response. And I put huge damage into him still, but he manages to survive. And as we come around the corner, the yellow player had not only finished off our kill there, but he had actually finished off another blue player. And the other one, I think, ended up running away. So there you go. That is the end of the video, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't already. We play live on Twitch if you guys want to come catch some live gameplay. We play live almost every single day. And then finally, guys, we have community clips. If you guys have community footage or any PvP footage or something cool that you want to put on the internet but you don't want to make a channel or anything, you can send it to me at KristoferESO@hotmail.com. Be it a cool PvP fight, be it a cool clip in general, or even if you want to share a build but you didn't want to put a build video or something together. We are featuring the community builds, guys. If you have any footage you want to send me, please send it to me. And that's it, guys. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you had a fantastic night, and I'll see you next time.